Hello and welcome to the Vancouver Nighthawks versus the Seattle Rainmakers. It's a home game for the Rainmakers here in Mount Vernon, Washington. My name is Dave Bestock, and I'm joined today by Jude. Hello, Jude.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. And both teams are taking the field now. The Nighthawks have been struggling so far this season, and Seattle is coming off a bitter loss at home versus Portland last week. They were up and then got overcome in the second half. So they're hungry here, and Vancouver Nighthawks, of course, hungry because they have been struggling all year so far.
Yeah, it should be a good game. I expect the crowd to build here with a bunch of kids coming in from the Spring Rain tournament that's being held just around the corner. Lots of Canadian teams, lots of American teams. Even a team from Mexico came up to play in the tournament, and I think they're all on their way to cheer on these two great teams.
And both of these teams, of course, have a lot of young players who've come up through the youth scene. A lot of the Rainmakers players have certainly played in Seattle Rain. It's not just a coincidence of name there. These guys have come up through the Seattle scene and now are playing pro. And here comes the first pull coming up for the Rainmakers, starting on D. And Vancouver, who's been struggling on offense, will look to put something together here. Right on the mark are the Rainmakers. Swing goes out. Barber to Ross. Running two cutters in the middle. It's a zone, and so there's poppers up the middle here as the Nighthawks just look to move it, figure out the defense. And the Rainmakers doing a good job of pushing it out to the outsides. Now the Nighthawks find a gap in the middle, get a few yards, and they'll swing again. Barber out to Chu. Little give and go. Now it's man defense by the Rainmakers. Feely on the mark. Hunter has it. Up the middle. Gut shot. Nice grab. Oh, bobbles it, but brings it in. LaRosse with it. Through the middle. It's Barber. Nice D by the Rainmakers. Turnover for the Nighthawks. A lot of throws there for turnover at midfield. Feely gets it, picks it up. Henry Fan, huge throw across the field into traffic. Multiple guys coming down with it. If both of them came down at the same time, it's a tie, goes to the offense, but the referee rules that the Nighthawks player had a hand on it first. That was LaRosse coming down with it in a group. That was an ill-advised throw from Fan, quite exciting, and the Nighthawks will look to advance it again. Back end goes out wide to Barbieri. Up into the middle. I agree with that foul call. He came in a little late.
Came with some heat, though.
One handler back. Everyone else very deep. Kind of a side stack for Vancouver. Puts a lot of pressure on the handler to get it open. He takes off upfield. Swing goes out. Chu. Barber. Over on the side. Finds Hunter, who sends it up to it looks like Lamb for a goal. Nighthawks strike first here. 1-0, Vancouver.
Lots of defensive pressure, especially downfield. Really made it difficult for them to develop much action downfield. But eventually they worked it around the sides and struck in the corner.
Good pressure by Seattle, making them go up to the side of the field. Of course, the middle is the strongest position in the field on offense because there's that much more space to attack to. But pretty good job after getting D'd by the Nighthawks, utilizing that swing and patient offense. Swing it around, find the corner. Let's see if the Rainmakers can respond. With about 7:45 left in the first period of play. Here's the pull from Vancouver. Seattle offense will take it. Masler down with it to McKibben. Hauser left alone on the side. No one guarding him. Gusson takes off deep. Shimmy shakes and cuts deep, and Gusson will have a chance at it. Oh, but misreads it with the pressure of Arturo Aponte, who comes down with it. Gusson tried to jump out of the park here to get that one. Good pressure by Aponte. And now pressure back from the Rainmakers. Forces a turf throw. looks to the ref, hoping for a foul. And there's a stoppage. And I'm not sure if Tridiak, who's on D there, had something to say, and looked like there was a handshake with Ostergaard. Maybe Ostergaard said, yep, I did get you. And that's part of the spirit of the game of Ultimate, working its way into the integrity rules. And a great D by Clay Dewey Valentine, flying by and getting a block on the first pass after the yardage gain on the foul call, and another call.
Mazler tried to pick up the disc and kind of learned a lesson for trying to do so.
And Tridiak will take it just outside the Rainmakers goal line. Vertical stack. Hauser swings out wide. Gussin finds space, attacks the disc, and reels it in. A little scuba from Tridiak to Gussin, and it's tied 1-1.
My bad. I thought that was Mazler. Too many headbands.
And Gussin is limping off. Some contact from both teams on the back of players coming in to get the disc. And we've seen long history of rivalries with Seattle and Vancouver, sometimes getting physical, sometimes getting heated in club and in Major League Ultimate as well there, as the intensity picks up out of the gate. 1-1, Seattle and Vancouver.
Yeah, this promises to be a little bit of a border war. There are a bunch of players that meet each other on all sorts of different fields, whether it's Major League Ultimate or the Club Ultimate. And even coaching against each other. I see some of these guys are out there coaching high school teams against each other today. So there may be some scores that need to be settled there, too.
Well, a friendly rivalry for the most part, but certainly looking to elevate each other's game. And it looks like Seattle is going to pull from deep in their own end zone. And I wonder if that's a result of maybe some of the intensity of the last point. I'm not sure what the call is there to necessitate that, but Seattle pulling from off the field here to a Vancouver team lined up on their normal line. Dewey Valentine with a pull. It's down much of the field. LaRosse centers. Barber with it. Good pressure by Seattle, forcing a hammer over the top, but the receiver, of course, wide open there. Sends up a little air bounce, lefty backhand. Chu able to get it, and then off balance tries to send one to an open teammate and sends it into the turf instead. An unfortunate mistake there from Chu for the Nighthawks, and Feely will take it for the Rainmakers coming the other way. Feely up the line, Chris Rupp. Rupp back to Feely. The swing goes out. That's Greeley. Shot goes up. It comes up short, but the Nighthawks player doesn't see it. Henry Fan quickly reacts, dives, and keeps possession for Seattle. As Feely tries to advance the disc, sends one over the top. Hunter, taking a little risk, comes in, wants a call as the hammer goes up to Rupp in the end zone. There was a whistle blown. Looks like the disc will come back. I'm not sure of the call. Hunter was scrambling to find his man and stumbled in there and then wanted a call. Possibly a travel call.
Yeah, I don't.
It could have been a travel on as a receiver, which lost some yards there, and Seattle attacking up line again to Feely. There's Fan up line. Feely fakes him off. Nice mark there. And a whistle blown again. Nice D by Barber on the mark. Feely will get it back after the call. Barber will again come in aggressively as the Rainmakers looking to attack it through their end zone offense. The swing goes out to Neely. Neely steps inside, sends an inside-out flick to Fan, and Fan with the goal. Rainmakers 2, the Nighthawks 1.
Yeah, Neely's been having a good season this year, really stepping up his game, becoming a bigger part of the offense. He's always been an aggressive defensive player, but I noticed his name showing up in more offensive categories this year.
Smart cutter, understands the space really well downfield, and makes his moves there. Thanks for tuning in. MLU brought to you by Canterbury, the official apparel supplier to Major League Ultimate. You want to dress like a pro? Visit www.canterburyus.com, the destination for all your team's custom uniforms and athletic apparel needs. Canterbury, proud partner of Major League Ultimate, committed to the game. And Seattle's D team will pull just under 5 minutes here in the first quarter as more fans trickle in from that spring rain tournament, that youth tournament that helps keep Seattle's Ultimate scene so strong. The Nighthawks swing it over, finding lots of openings in their offense. Sort of a poachy six-man defense up front with looks like Klein in the back conducting traffic for the Rainmakers. Now they lock in to a man-to-man. Miller marking Chan well downfield. Looks like they're wanting to force the disc through their handlers, and that's why an unforced error by the handlers gives the Rainmakers the disc. They were pinching off the handlers, allowing some of those easy swings, pressuring the downfield passes, and it pays off. And Klein sends a bendy one. Trey Miller reels it into the breadbasket there, brings it all the way into his chest as he tumbles to the ground to keep possession. Drops it off with a handler. That's Feely. Feely puts it out in front to Klein. Klein can't get there in time. A nice run, a little bit too much blade on the flick from Feely. And the Nighthawks will get it back. So it looked like some of the Seattle handlers were cheating off, allowing some of these short passes, and we saw that turn into an unforced error, a missed throw by the Nighthawks. They've really been struggling on offense this year in terms of possession and percentage completed throws. They have one of the lowest numbers in the league there. So looking to make improvements as Barbie, that's Whitney Brown, has it on the line. Nice pressure from Seattle, but allowing a open shot downfield. That's Chan. Chan, a little bladey flick over the top. Stelk moves it across, swung again. Inside out backhand, that was a kind of funky throw. Made it through there. Lots of little throws now. Puts it out in front. Feely gets a good look at it, but can't get enough of a hand on it, if any, to get it stopped from going to Whitney Brown, who reels it in to tie up the game. Nice movement by Vancouver. A lot of throws on that point, huh, Jude?
Yeah, but they seem to be pretty confident in their throws. They're taking shorter, easier throws, maybe hitting the open man a little bit more confidently. So I expect if they can do that, they're going to bring that completion percentage up quite a bit this game.
And I know there's folks keeping stats of total passes on offensive possession, and it's an interesting stat because it can go both ways. If you have a lower number there, it might mean you're scoring quickly. A higher number might mean there's more defensive pressure, or it might just mean really patient offense. So, but it is an interesting stat to track and see the implications of there. Certainly, Vancouver had a lot of passes that possession as they get it in there to tie, and it's all tied up here. You've seen a couple exciting plays, some good pressure, waiting for really clean offense so far. We haven't really seen offense finding their groove immediately. Here's McKibben assessing the field. Entz comes in, wide open in the middle. Big target for them deep, so able to get it under. Gussin across. Fakin looking now to reset through a handler. There's McKibben. And they're finding their flat stack here, closing in on their red zone, their end zone offense. Hauser with it, still in a flat stack. If they get closer, they may be transitioning to a vertical stack. Swing goes out to Masler. Gussin working hard in the middle, back and forth. Little step, almost puts it up too high, but Tridiak gets it, throws up a scuba. It's bobbled. It's caught by Steve Gussin. Good focus by Gussin. Nice D from the Nighthawks, and the Rainmakers sneak one in.
Yeah, the Rainmakers seem pretty happy just to let their bigs come under over and over and over again and handle and move the disc. It's at some point, Nighthawks are going to want to shut that under down and test them deep, see how that works.
We haven't seen too many deep shots going up yet from either team. Certainly it's risky to let Entz and Gussin get open deep. Big frames on those guys. They want it going up so they can come down with it. And so they're getting backed there. And as you said, coming in for some relatively easy undershots.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do on D here. I see some of the guys that just were playing O, but I think that they're players that are comfortable going either direction. It'll be interesting to see what Trey Miller does on D. He's definitely one of the most explosive, most athletic players on the field right now.
Certainly Miller, there's a stat out there, we'll look for it again, but Seattle does very well on D in terms of converting breaks when Miller's on the field. Big throw goes up. Klein tracking it downfield. Early jump,
nice
and doesn't get it. Hunter grabs it, sends it across to Barbieri for the goal. Klein almost getting there, but not quite. A little early jump by Klein, maybe hoping to get Hunter to go up with him. Hunter remains focused, brings it in, and sends it into Barbieri for another Vancouver goal. And it's 3-3 here with 1:44 remaining in the first period.
That's a D that I think Evan Klein thinks he usually gets. Definitely had a breakout season last year with the Rainmakers and in the club scene, just as a big, dominating the skies in a lot of different roles. But that one didn't work out for the Rainmakers that time.
There's a reason why he's back there. They trust him with those deep shots, those hanging shots. I think he could have had a play on it, just jumped a little early. But certainly an outstanding athlete and able to make up the ground to get to make a play on that disc. Just can't quite do it. 3-all. Rainmakers offense. McKibben with it. Tridiak out and in the middle. That's an out and across. Sleva looking to stretch it. Disc goes out to Ostergaard, wide open on the rail. Masler gets it, winds up, sends a shot. There's two Rainmakers players if it'll come back in. Sails to the back of the end zone, reaching, trying is Sleva. And Masler sends a long one down that almost makes it into the corner of the end zone, but not quite. And that disc is going to come all the way back to where it came out of bounds. And the Nighthawks with a chance for a break.
Usually those big shots don't lead to short fields, but here we are.
Almost getting a piece of it was Sleva, but evidently they ruled that he was not in bounds and touching it at the same time. And now the Nighthawks, wide swing. McKibben coming with the pressure, but Chu hangs on. Nighthawks moving it up through the middle. There's a lofty flick, except it's not so lofty. It dies. Needed a little more spin, a little more air on that one. That one just died. It was to an open Chu in the end zone. Chu had his man beat, but the throw comes up short. Double team now on Sleva. Sleva sneaks one out to Masler. Over on the side, there's Tito. Unfortunately can't hang on the sideline, and the Nighthawks quick to strike on the turn, looking to counterattack. And LaRosse puts a backhand well too far in front of Barber. Can't get there. 5 seconds remaining in the first period. A huck goes up. That's not going to get there. Maybe want to go a little 1-2-1, giving the Nighthawks a chance to get it. It's their big man in the back, but it sails too far out the back, and that is a little bit of the name of the first quarter for the Nighthawks. Had several chances there, sending the disc too far out in front of their receivers, and we're going to end this first period 3-3. And these teams come in here often on U.S. coachways. Do you have a team trip or corporate outing coming up? If so, charter a private bus, minibus, or a party bus from busrental.com, a U.S. coachways company. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. Enter coupon code MLU, space BUS, and get additional savings and VIP treatment. And these teams here looking to get their bus started and take off. It's been a game of trading so far. No real runs to speak of. Relatively low score here in the first quarter. It's 3-all.
Yeah, I imagine both teams are going to come out of the quarter with kind of renewed goals. They got a few things that they can work on, and I think if they just kind of tone it down a little bit, throw to their open players instead of way out in front, I think they're going to see some more completions, and then we'll start seeing some scoring. But right now, I think they're both kind of stuttering a little bit on offense.
And it's tough because a lot of those are the right looks by especially the Nighthawks, but both teams throwing a few errant throws that are sailing too high or too wide, and a lot of it's just unforced errors, execution errors, basic throwing fundamentals. This Vancouver team, a very young team, So looking both to gel together and also to improve their own personal skill sets here in the MLU. The Rainmakers, some more seasoned players. We've seen those faces a little bit more over the last couple years in the MLU. But they haven't found their groove. I'm hoping to see some huck shots. I know they get really excited when they send some deep and it works. But so far it's a lot of undershots for both teams, trying to work it up the middle. And good defensive pressure, forcing the disc out to the sidelines here and there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Really impressed with the defense so far. Lots of pressure, lots of catches made under pressure, forcing some kind of tough shots through holes, just because stall count's getting high. Yeah, I think this game is going to develop into something really fun to watch.
And then both teams are preparing to come in here to the second quarter, and fans are pouring in. A lot of youth fans here. The Rainmakers certainly, and all teams, really drawing some youth from the community who are just starting to play and learning Ultimate and want to see it at its best. So they're able to come out here and watch their hometown favorites. So as you said, Jude, a lot of youth teams in the area, both from Vancouver and Seattle and elsewhere around the region, gathering for Spring Rain. It looks like things there are closing up, and the fans are pouring in here at Mount Vernon High School. We've got a lovely view here across to a church and some mountains. Mountains abound here. We're about an hour north of Seattle. Mount Vernon, just shy of Bellingham, going north on I-5. And not too windy here. We've seen a couple of discs sail up and over their intended receiver, giving some chances for the defense, but not too strong a wind that it's really getting in the way of either team.
It's a beautiful night for Ultimate here. Started out a little rainy today, but settled in, and these guys can really open it up. Take some deep shots, hopefully, and not worry about having to deal with rain and wind to catch the disc. Should be exciting. You mentioned Spring Rain. I'm going to bring it up one more time. I sent an email out to some of the Nighthawks players and just asked, hey, what was your youth experience, your youth playing experience? And, about 9 or 10 of them really remember playing in Spring Rain fondly. In fact, a lot of these guys on the Nighthawks probably played some of the players that are on the Rainmakers at Spring Rain. So these are matchups that probably go back 4, 5, 6 years. I know Mike LaRosse on the Nighthawks, really, he talks about his 3 times playing at Spring Rain as kind of formative Ultimate experiences for him. So it's probably fun for him to be out here playing in front of these kids who just finished up.
Continuing the generations from the youth tournaments to the pros. The Rainmakers marching back here to start out the second quarter. McKibben looks at kind of a double team, drops it off to Masler. Finds Hauser up the middle. Hauser's been a great receiver for the Rainmakers, finding lots of space downfield, timing his big open cuts. There's Entz, man right on his back. Entz, mostly a receiver, sends a nice flick up to Tridiak, often a thrower, sneaks one in over the top. Tridiak, good focus, reeling that one in. Entz, a little bit short, but it works. Big shot from the big man.
Yeah, that throw came right over the defender's shoulder. The defender couldn't really get his bearings on that. Luckily, Tridiak stayed focused and wrapped it up.
Tridiak often throwing goals to some of the big guys on the Rainmakers there. Little roll reversal. And it sailed over the top of Groden Gilchrist. Was the defensive player for the Nighthawks trying to get there and block it from Tridiak. Didn't get a good look at it, and Tridiak able to bring it in. They go up 4-3 here in the second period of play. Seattle pole goes up. The raindrop cheer from the hometown fans. Cam Bailey puts it at the end zone line. The Nighthawks, Barber, facing some physical pressure on the mark there. Not enough where the ref's going to call it. Again, the Rainmakers cheating into the cutting lanes here, trying to force more throws to the handlers. Barber Swing goes back. Nice pressure from Jesperson. Nice pressure there as a diving Neely goes by. Getting tripped up. Nighthawks doing a good job of keeping possession here. Now finding an opening, and I jinxed him. The throw went into Chu, who bobbled it. He had found an opening for an in cut on the line, and it came in a little hot, and he could not hang on. Cam Bailey dumps it off to Feely, swings it over to Fan. A big open space on Fan's side of the field. Cam Bailey draws 2, allowing Neely to get open under. Neely sends one to Bailey, who brings it in for the goal. Nice shot from Neely there. And a good cut by Cam Bailey, drawing 2 defenders. Neely able to get under, his defender chasing. And in that interim, continuing downfield to Bailey, who initiated that cut originally, drawing those defenders. Nice teamwork there on the Rainmakers offense.
Yeah, Neely's racking up some assist points tonight.
And Cam Bailey gets big stats both ways sometimes for the Rainmakers. Big numbers in last week's game. He scored 4 goals through an assist and got 3 blocks. But I do remember a couple of those blocks, or at least one of them, was after a turnover. And he gets real fired up. If he's going to turn it over, you better believe he's going to be there making a bid on the other end. He's a hard worker, Cam Bailey, and he brings that one in for the Rainmakers. Get a little break here and go up 5-3, believe it or not, biggest lead so far of the night.
Yeah, it's fun to see. Bailey's one of my favorite players to watch play. He's incredibly athletic, super explosive, and just hates to lose. Just hates it. So I almost enjoy watching him make a turnover, because you know you're going to see something amazing on the defensive side.
Not to say we're hoping for a turnover, but indeed, I totally agree with you. And that one came from his teammate, Matt Neely. Been a contributor all year. Over the last season, he had not caught over 1 goal or completed 10 passes. This year, getting a lot more touches out there for the Rainmakers. Last year, throwing for 2 goals, 2 assists, rather, and scoring 2 goals as well. And we expect to see more from Matt Neely on the offensive side, certainly. That, of course, was a defensive possession. The Rainmakers forcing the turnover and capitalizing with a break. 5-3, Seattle, 8:37 remaining in the half. And the Seattle hometown fans letting themselves be heard for their Rainmakers here. Kind of a middle ground here between Seattle and Vancouver in Mount Vernon, Washington, as we're going to watch the sun fade away through the course of this game and the night lights, Saturday night lights, start to illuminate the game. And you saw this a lot last game. There was a ton of turnovers, timeouts, timeouts in the last game after scoring a goal so that you can pull from half field. That proved very effective for Seattle, especially in the first half and when they were able to go on runs and get breaks. So here they're trying that again. A sailing pull goes up, allowing all of the Rainmakers to find their guys and match up. Vancouver looking to initiate their offense. Out to the side. Nadon with it. Finds an opening in the middle. A couple of cuts going to the same spot from different sides into the middle. That's trouble for the Nighthawks, but they work it out. Goes up through Chan. Now Hunter. Moves it all the way across. Nadon. Over to Yee. Back to Nadon. And there's one very deep cutter on the forehand side and a whole bundle of Nighthawks on that backhand side. And they weren't able to isolate the cutter, who was alone on that side of the field, having to run through their handlers again. Cam Bailey getting aggressive as the Nighthawks player he's guarding receives the disc. Swings out. It's Whitney Brown with it. Sends a nice slice swing to Hunter. Hunter, a lot of touches for the Nighthawks. Sends one up through a very narrow gap there. Reeled in by Yee. Puts it up. Also reeled in. Barbieri centering it back to Yee. High lefty backhand to an open cutter, but again, too far out in front. Not enough touch for him to get there. Gets tripped up. Maybe had a chance on it, but a tough play for Chan, the intended receiver. And Yee just puts a little too much on it. Doesn't let Chan get a chance at it. Rupp initiating to Greeley. Greeley to Fan. Fan winds up and sends one to Trey Miller out in front. Trey Miller is a fast man and gets there just at the goal line with Barbieri chasing. Trey Miller finds Cam Bailey for the goal. Great run by Trey Miller. And a great shot from Henry Fan. Could have put him in the end zone. Miller so focused on it, he catches it just shy, but then finds Bailey. And that's another break for Seattle.
And that was kind of that explosive athleticism that I was talking about. He's just that's a young man who just loves to go deep, come back under, go deep again, come back under. Eventually, someone's going to throw it to him, and he's going to catch it.
Certainly a playmaker, and making himself known as such there, catching it over Barbieri. And that's a fun connection. Fan, number 7, throwing it to Miller, 77, and both of those guys certainly exemplary players coming out of the youth scene in Seattle. Those guys have played together for years, and fun to see. Fan used to be he can still go deep and catch him as well, but you used to see him more on the receiving end than the really big throwing end, and they're showing what he's got. Big backhand, 60 yards or so downfield to Miller. Nice, exciting play, keeping the fans engaged here. Whoa. As the Rainmakers go up 6-3 with 6:34 remaining in the second.
Yeah, Henry and Trey are both products of the Franklin High School in Seattle. Actually, Henry's back there now coaching while Miller is playing there. So that was a coach-to-player completion there for almost a score. And I'm sure that Henry had a lot to say in encouraging Miller to come out and try out for the Rainmakers this year.
Certainly fun to play with your coach, and as a coach, fun to play with your player. I know myself, I've coached through Seattle youth scene for many years and then gotten a chance to play with some folks who I've been able to coach, and it certainly is a treat to be able to hand the sport down to a younger generation and inspire the next generation of outstanding athletes in the sport of ultimate.
Yeah, Henry and Trey are both really big inspirations to a lot of kids, a lot of young players in the south end of Seattle, where Franklin High School is. It's sort of an underserved community, but ultimate has really caught on there. And Henry and Trey and Khalif, who's not here tonight, those are all guys who have really worked hard in that community to spread the love of ultimate.
They receive the benefits of the sport and are wanting to give it back. They're able to do so also through the help of a couple organizations in Seattle, South End Ultimate Program, Age Up, both outstanding youth organizations, especially encouraging diversity within the sport. It's great to see in Seattle. Feely with a pull, sending a razor in, reeled in there by Yee, starting off the offense for the Nighthawks. Chan, guarded by Feely. Little fake, sends one kind of wide. Caught by Davidson, who had his toe there in bounds. Davidson looking at a whole field with no dumps. Send one up. Could be anybody's ball there. Tapped by who the heck knows who by the Rainmakers downfield. And looks like some of those players are slow to get up. 5 or 6 players were able to get under that pretty bad throw there by Davidson. He got kind of stranded, but then just lofts a flick up and it's anybody's ball. And unfortunately, a lot of player there in one bunch. And I can't exactly see who it is that's on the ground here. Yeah. But one of the Rainmakers players is face down on the turf and maybe just got the wind knocked out of him or got landed on. It's tough to say. It's a rough pass.
He had at least 2 players land on top of him, I think. So that's enough to make you think about getting up for a little while. Lots of throws and at least on this point, and some of the prior points, a lot of throws by the Nighthawks into coverage, into 2 or 3 players cutting to the same spot. Seems like maybe they are still working on some of their spacing so that they're thrown into triple and quadruple coverage sometimes like that.
And that one just caught a little bit of air under it and hung up, and allowing several receivers and certainly several Rainmakers defenders to get under it and make a play at it. The Rainmakers horde able to knock it away downfield, but Jesperson coming down hard remains down for the Rainmakers. Jesperson, a big guy, but again, there was several big guys in the mix there, and it looks like Jesperson caught the worst of it. He sits up there with some of the Rainmakers staff helping him up now. Able to walk himself off the field. That's a great sign, but lingered there for a little while. Did Jesperson. Miller will come in his stead, and play will resume. Nice to see Jesperson walking off the field, chatting with the trainer. Miller initiates, cutting across, as does Klein following him, vacating that side, but Feely already looking to the handlers, fighting through some contact. Oh, could have gone after it with 2 hands, try to one-hand it there, did Miller, and couldn't come down with it, and they're back on D. The Nighthawks stranding themselves a little bit, are the Nighthawks. No handlers reset to speak of there. Able to find an opening downfield, and again, handlers abandoning, but then coming back for Chan. Chan almost getting in the way there, as it looks like Whitney Brown on the corner with it. A lot of cutters coming into that corner, and he's forced to throw a cross-field flick. Never really what you want to throw on the end zone line, but able to sneak it into Hunter, who was wide open on the far side because all 5 other Nighthawks players cut into that corner and kind of crammed it in there. So a little bit loose on their end zone offense, but able to sneak it into Hunter and remain here within 2 as they come up with 4 to the Rainmakers 6.
Yeah, with Hunter, I think at least made the right choice, went to the wide side where there was some space. He saw that it was getting a little crowded around the disc and just thought, oh, I'll go over there. There's nobody over there, and the thrower found him.
And the Nighthawks now with a timeout, probably looking to take advantage themselves of pulling from half field.
It's always interesting, though, when you see a team work it down, 70 yards, end zone to end zone, and then make a 20-yard throw just to get a 5-yard score.
Indeed, yeah, they really jammed that corner when Whitney Brown had it. The fans here are going nuts. Andrew Takahashi, the Pied Piper of Rainmakers fans, has kids screaming for a T-shirt and taking full advantage of it before just tossing it to an eager fan right in the front.
Some players from Denny Middle School in West Seattle being loud, earning themselves a gift.
And a lot of youth players here in the stands to see the Seattle Rainmakers hosting the Vancouver Nighthawks here in Mount Vernon. Both teams wearing Canterbury, the performance apparel partner to Major League Ultimate. Visit CanterburyUS.com today, the destination for your team's custom uniforms. Canterbury, committed to Ultimate. 5:20 remaining in the second period of play in the half. 6-4 Rainmakers. Nighthawks to pull from midfield, hoping to put some pressure on, keep this game close coming into the second half. The Nighthawks struggling on offense this season. Not doing that great on the defensive end as well. just looking to find their groove here. And they'll pull, looking to put on some pressure and hope for a Seattle turnover. Look to strike there if they can. Pull, a very bladey backhand, sent into the end zone, and it looks like offsides is called on Blue. Gavin McKibben cheating up off the line. The ref quick to call the offsides on the receiving team, the Seattle Rainmakers. And they will take the disc deep in their own end zone. Tridiak, Scuba over the top, Dewey Valentine. Up and out of their end zone. Disc goes to Breen. Breen to Hauser. A couple of Rainmakers take off deep. Hauser looking to reset. There's Tridiak. Good pressure here from the Nighthawks. Tridiak lofts a high flick across field. There's Hauser. Tons of space to work in. A nice throw hanging out there for a long time. Hauser able to grab it. Puts it up to Gussin. Gussin frustrated. Continues to be bodied by the Nighthawks defense. Shaking his head and getting the call from the ref. Gussin will look to strike on the flick line. Hauser clears space. Dewey Valentine. Nice little handler cut. Tridiak, one of the same. Gussin gets out of there. Little push pass with a flick grip to Dewey Valentine. Called a goal. A nice little handler flip there. Creative throw, way to get it off really quickly by Danny Tridiak for a very quick handler cut by Dewey Valentine up the line for the goal. 7-4 Rainmakers.
Pretty striking difference in the end zone O there between the two teams. The previous point, we saw the Nighthawks really kind of jam it all into one corner, everybody cutting to that corner. The Rainmakers a little bit more patient in their spacing, creating some space for their handlers to cut from behind the disc into that corner, just so they could only throw to one disc to one person.
A good job clearing by cutters who were not able to get it by the Rainmakers, allowing that space that Dewey Valentine is able to find right in the corner for a 4-foot pass. We said earlier you don't want to go 70 yards to have to swing a 30-yard flick across the end zone there. A little push pass cleverly delivered by Tridiak. Henry Fan racing down for the Seattle defense, and the Nighthawks slow to start their vertical stack. Whitney Brown moves the disc up. Davidson with it. Out in front of Nadan, who swings it over to Whitney Brown. Across the field is Hunter. Good movement here by the Nighthawks. And there's a lofty shot. We haven't seen too many of those from the Nighthawks. Chris Rupp says no, though. Gets to the position very early, does Rupp, not giving Whitney Brown a chance. Whitney Brown, the intended receiver, was one of the first hucks we've seen from the Nighthawks and was not successful. Nice play by Rupp, but certainly given a chance to catch up there. Inside out. Goes to Klein. Klein winds up. Lofty flick. Fan out in front. Two Nighthawks defenders. And well played by the Nighthawks. It looks like Barbieri able to rise up and get it. Fan outnumbered. And there's another flick by the Nighthawks. Reeled in that time by Whitney Brown. A streaking Hunter. Long legs, comes in, gets it, delivers to Chan. The Nighthawks score. Both teams stretching the field a little bit on that point. The Nighthawks able to connect on their second huck of the point to bring it back within two. 5-7, Seattle leads.
A little more edge on that second huck. Didn't give Rupp the time to catch up and gain position. Paid off for the Nighthawks there. I like their willingness to go back to that. You had mentioned we didn't see a lot of downfield play from them, but I think that's going to allow them to use the space a little bit more. If there's actually the threat of the deep shot, we might actually see a little more space for their handlers to do some work in.
certainly if you get beat deep, you're going to think twice about cheating in. A lot of big targets get backed by their defenders, allowing them to come under to the disc for yardage. And we've seen time and time again some of these big targets coming in, getting the disc so much under that they develop really great throws. If you've got a big receiver who's a threat in the end zone, who can come under, get the disc, and then deliver a huck, that is a tough player to guard. So if, as you say, the Nighthawks are able to stretch the field out, might leave some more space for their cutters to get yardage coming back to the disc. Timeout on the field, 3:05 remaining in the half. 7-5 Rainmakers as the dusk sets in here in Mount Vernon.
It's really a beautiful setting for a game, though. I love that we were doing this year after year now as part of the kind of a follow-up to the Spring Rain tournament, and get all these kids out here who just spend a day playing Ultimate. They get to watch some high-level Ultimate by sitting still, and just an incredible setting.
Big day of Ultimate here in the Pacific Northwest.
While they're on break, does anybody need a piece of chocolate?
So teams coming out of their timeouts here. Coaches checking in with their players. The Nighthawks, looks like there's two separate huddles, the O and D team perhaps, or the next 7 to be on, and the remaining team.
It looked like the Nighthawks were using the short cones to kind of demonstrate the spacing that they want to create on the field. We'll see if that benefits them when they get the disc back. But right now, they're going to have to work on D.
Little breeze picking up here, coming from the far side of the field towards the near side as we're looking at it. The flag blowing in the wind here. Both national anthems were sung. Of course, the Canadians here visiting from Vancouver.
Looks like a busload of Canadian kids just unloaded, so maybe the Nighthawks are going to have a little bit more, a little stronger voice behind them when they're working their magic on the field.
And of course, it's always invigorating to have fans cheering for you. And if the fans are only cheering for the other team, that can be disheartening. So we now have some Vancouver fans in the mix as Vancouver, another very blady backhand pull. Caught by Maslow. That's a tough catch.
Daring.
Sends a floaty backhand out to Dewey Valentine. Looks like a zone attempt from the Nighthawks, but they're out in front. Hauser gets a step deep. I would have thrown it. Comes back through the handlers. Masler with it now. Todd Sleva gets wide open in the middle. Unable to find him right away. Gavin McKibben sees an opening downfield, launches a shot. Hauser brings it in and then looks to send one in to Tridiak, but well D'd by Chu for the Nighthawks. McKibben's initial huck almost D'd. He got wide eyes, had to take the time to fake, step into the backhand, and just came up a little short, but Hauser able to reel that one in, can't connect. And the Nighthawks with a chance for a break here. I would have loved to see some deep shots from their cutters there. Good pressure by Entz, but not able to stifle the D. And now the Nighthawks send one. Hauser gets position against Mogollon, and Mogollon of the Nighthawks not able to come down with it. Nice D by Hauser, who threw that last one away for the Rainmakers. If you're the one to turn it over, you're certainly going to want to try to get it back. And Sleva, huge grab out in front, and there's Hauser, open. Hauser tips his toes into the end zone, and the Rainmakers with some fan favorites coming up with big plays as they extend their lead to 3-8-5. Nice play by the Rainmakers. Sleva got a ton of yardage downfield. The throw goes up. Lots of time to chase it down. Sounded like he had his own personal fan section here as well, rooting him on. And then Hauser, who continues to find openings downfield on the receiving end of the goal there for the Rainmakers.
Yeah, Hauser is he's got a nickname around town, Hot Route, because he just likes to run downfield. He finds those hot routes, and people love to throw to him deep.
He's got a nice big frame, so when he gets in good position downfield, it's hard to get around him. And oftentimes, you see him a couple steps out in front, taking those inside hot routes, not giving the defenders a chance. Another timeout here on the field with 1:32 left in the half. 8-5, Rainmakers.
Mogollon, earlier in that point, he ended up getting D'd, but he's an interesting player out of Columbia. He's been in the Vancouver area for a few years, but played in Worlds with Columbia with the mixed team. Moved here, played. Has really made a name for himself in the Northwest, playing some hot D for a bunch of different teams.
It's Mogollon of the Nighthawks. Of course, the country of Columbia has an outstanding ultimate program. Their youth program there gets funding from their government, and so it is more robust than many U.S. cities in terms of how they are able to inspire, encourage, and train their youth in the sport of ultimate. They have been one of the top teams pretty consistently, especially in the youth arena, for several years now. The U.S. very dominant in the sport internationally. Canada always showing up strong as well. Some European teams, Australia always in the mix there. Japan very strong. And Colombia, because they've got such a strong youth component, we can logically expect to see them showing up to more tournaments in the club scene and Worlds tournaments in the adult divisions as well, hopefully being contenders there. As we saw Mogollon, a product of Colombian Ultimate, looking to score for the Nighthawks, but getting D'd by Hauser, who then gets the goal on the other end for the Rainmakers, who call a timeout and will pull from half field.
Yeah, there's always been kind of a Pacific Northwest connection to the development of Ultimate in Columbia. I know there's a lot of players and teams that travel down there. They've made some real connections down there, gone down there to coach and encourage and run clinics. It's really nice to see that paying off, and then some of those players coming here to play.
I had the honor of coaching in Columbia twice, and it was a real treat to see the just great, eager attitude from a lot of players down there at the growth of the sport, and they were very accommodating hosts as well. Nighthawks now with it. Just over a minute left to play. Disc goes out. Whitney Brown into the middle. Stelk. Nighthawks moving it through their handlers. Good poachy defense by the Rainmakers. And patience by the Nighthawks. Loose enough D where it's like a zone. Feely coming into the middle from a receiver on the far side. Just to be another body in the middle and force that disc to have to go around. And it really slows down the offense of the Nighthawks. There, they find Chan up the middle. Chan looking for his buddy. Cutting up field and leaves it up short, and the Rainmakers will get a chance at it. Fan puts it out too far in front. Brink can't get there.
I think there's Stacy.
Stacy can't get there, sorry. Hunter double teamed. Scuba over the top. Davidson, and just sends a throw. Oh, bobbled by the defense, touched by the defense. Barbieri has a chance at it but can't hang on. Time ticks away. Feely not even going to try to send one downfield. Not give them a chance at it. As we close out the half, 8-5, Seattle Rainmakers over the Vancouver Nighthawks. Seattle will be pulling, starting on D.
There's a lot of young players here from Denny Middle School. I know they're hoping to see Robin Breen, number 4, go in. He works at that school, so I imagine we'll hear some noise if he gets called in here in the second half.
Young fans here cheering on their idols, their coaches, their friends on the Rainmakers, and some Canadian fans here as well cheering on the Nighthawks as we are sort of midway here between Seattle and Vancouver in Mount Vernon. Big pull goes up for the Rainmakers to start the second half, and the defensive pressure comes down. Call on the field here immediately. And the Nighthawks will reinitiate their offense here.
I missed the call, as did some of the players on the field, I think.
The whistle was blown, and the Nighthawks were instructed to reinitiate the offense. I'm not sure of the call, but the disc is in play. Chris Rupp cheats off the handler to force another swing. Clogging up the lanes are the poaching handlers, being somewhat strategic about it. Not every time, but certainly their players have some permission to cheat off of their handler when that guy doesn't have the disc, to try and plug up the throwing lanes of the guy who does. There's a little floaty flick up the middle. Chu's been getting a lot of touches. A little give-go there. Ted Chu swings it across. Taylor Nadon. Taylor Nadon puts it out in front, not giving LaRosse a chance at it. Again, Nighthawks plagued by some overthrows out to space. Feely very patient, initiating their offense. Back now, Fan with it in the middle. Spread offense allowing, looks like Klein to get it up the middle. Klein moves it over. That's Greeley with it. Leaving it for Rupp. And looks like a vertical stack now here. A series of cutters. Cam Bailey off the back. Fan with it. Feely coming up the line for him. Nice little direct shot, not giving the D a chance there. Klein now looking to both sides of the field. Handler's very active. Feely gets it. Whoa. Big looping backhand around. I do believe that was to Neely, who ends up with it. Neely, crossfield Blady flick. Chris Rupp able to get there and hang on. The crossfield blade flick working again. I never recommend that on the end zone line, but nobody ever listens to me anyway. Thank you at home for listening. Nice goal there by the Rainmakers to start the second half as they go up 9-5. Chris Rupp catching a very blady pass across field. Good focus by Rupp, who will stay on and pull the next one for the Rainmakers defense.
Yeah, Neely seems to have taken the governor off. He's just throwing assists, whatever it takes tonight.
Well, and Rupp helping him out there. That throw could have gone any number of ways. The crossfield blade flick. But finding it and connecting, chalk it up for Neely.
He had a vision.
And Rupp will pull. 9-5 Rainmakers, 8:26 in the third. Nighthawks center the disc. Cutters active downfield. Very poachy by the Rainmakers, meaning they're not necessarily guarding their guy, they're guarding space. And pressuring as they have been the Nighthawks to really go through their handlers again and again and really having to work harder to get it downfield. It's interesting, they have a cutter. Hunter is all the way down in the end zone, and they're thus not able to send any shots deep, except for that one, because he's on the other side. Trey Miller swats it out the back of the end zone. Nice D by Trey Miller, as Hunter had drawn his defender across the field, camping out on the deep spot. The throw goes up, but is rejected by Miller. Disc moves up, that's Beener. Back through Rupp, swings it over to Fan. Miller comes off the back, pushed in the back, soars up to grab it. The ref saw that contact as well, and Miller will come down with a catch and gain yards. Little end one there for Trey Miller, who got that D. Pivots over, really just has Fan back. Turns again to find Rupp. Rupp can't get there, but Beener cleaning up the trash on that one. Miller putting a little too much loft on that. Not a lot of cutters to throw to. He's more of a receiver, and he takes off down into the deep space again as the Rainmakers go through their handlers, Sheridan and Fan. Little two-man game, and there's Bender out the back. Oh, nice bid, undercut. Bender hangs on, shell-shocked, but comes down with the disc for the goal, gets up, spikes the disc into the goalpost, and collects his high fives. Nice grab by Bender, a little leading shot by Fan, and pressure from Groden Gilchrist on the Nighthawks, clipping Bender, but Bender's all right. He stays on. Maybe they don't call him Bender for nothing. He did not break there.
Yeah, he had to kind of, I think he ran through the different parts of his body, confirmed he was okay, got up, authoritative spike after that.
And his body bent and did not break, but the Rainmakers did break as they extend their lead 10-5 with 6:40 remaining in the third quarter. 0.6 Socks, the official sock sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Check out www.point6.com for their full line of performance merino wool socks. 0.6 Socks is the official sock sponsor of the MLU.
The Nighthawks seem to be really struggling with the transition D that the Rainmakers have thrown. Play kind of a little junky thing early in the point and then transition to strict man, and that transition seems to really kind of mess with the Nighthawks offense.
Big pull here from McKibben. Rolls into the Nighthawks end zone. Center to Barber. Barber, quick shot up the middle. That's Mogollon. We spoke about him a little earlier. He's a player in Vancouver coming from the country of Colombia. Big ultimate scene there. Good pressure here from the handler defenders by the Rainmakers, but they find an opening. There's Mogollon sending a flick out in front, too far afield for his intended receiver, Aponte. And the Rainmakers will retake possession here. Dewey Valentine moves it across the field to Gussin. Hauser with space in the middle, little step out, gets space in. Floaty one to Gussin. Hauser takes off, probably wants the two-man going deep. Gussin sends a little inside-out shot. Breen couldn't get there. Not sure who that was to. It certainly wasn't an easy catch by anyone. Kind of a lazy throw up the middle. And the Nighthawks won't have many yards to go. This one hangs on. A lot of those throws have been too far out in front. That one, Barber is able to get there and reel that in for a Nighthawks goal. 10-6 Seattle. The Nighthawks trying to climb back.
It's good to see the Nighthawks kind of strike in transition quickly there, not get bogged down with some of the defensive change switches that the Rainmakers have shown, and just see them play just wide open ultimate.
And the Nighthawks defense will retake the field here, looking for a break.
Interesting. I kind of expected them to call timeout and get that short field pull, but they've elected to hustle down on D, see if they can't get another break.
They'll keep their timeouts. Maybe they'll bring it in closer and need them later. Rupp fields the pull to Masler for the Rainmakers. Sleva cutting under. Couple double cuts down there, Neely and Sleva. Sleva taking off deep, has steps. Big throw goes up, looked like from Tridiak. Little body. Both players go up early. No call. I think that's the right call. Sleva really wanted it. Went up a little bit early on the jump. Not able to come down with it, but certainly had steps on the cut. Todd Sleva getting open downfield. Can't bring it in, and now the Nighthawks will try and find the cleanliness of their offense. A lot of guys everywhere there. There's someone with space. Oh, and a hand block from Sleva. Barbieri was winding up his left-handed forehand huck as Hunter was streaking downfield. But Tom Sleva says no. Hand block, and Sleva has a group of fans here at the game. I will now dub them the Sleva Believers. And they can barely believe what they just saw there. A huge hand block gives the Rainmakers the disc back. Disc moves from Tridiak up to Klein. Rupp wide open upfield, but a narrow window. Klein elects to go through the middle. There's Masler. A little step around, backhand and Neely. And they're still in their flat, horizontal offense, moving through their handlers. Now there's a poach. There's a hammer. A slip downfield. Entz takes a tumble, gets up, almost gets back on his feet in time to get there, but looks like Whitney Brown was actually there. Entz fell over on the hammer from Masler. Masler now on the mark. They're playing D. And the Rainmakers, when they turn it over, have sometimes struggled. Last week against Portland, when they would turn it over, Portland had upwards of an 80% completion rate for scoring the breaks when Seattle's offense turns. So the receiving team for the Seattle Rainmakers, the offensive team, needing to play harder defense to get it back and prevent the breaks. And there they put some pressure on. It looked like Neely might have gotten a piece of that on the throw. Entz takes off deep, but the Rainmakers need to find their form here, go through their handlers into their flat stack. Rupp around backhand to Entz. Call on the field as Entz sends a flick up to Tridiak. Timeout called by Seattle. And the Rainmakers looking to take a rest and plan their attack here.
Yeah, it's I think that's a well-called timeout. The Rainmakers seem just maybe a little frantic with the disc, rushing it a little bit. Nice to see them get back to kind of a steadier offense. That being said, I have to say I'm kind of impressed with the Nighthawks defense this point. Playing hard, really making efforts to get it back when they turn it over.
Both teams able to be somewhat effective by dropping handler defenders into the throwing lanes and making the other team throw more passes. Fans staying engaged here at the stadium, looking to get some swag, some MLU swag from Canterbury perhaps. Canterbury is, of course, proud to power your game as the official apparel sponsor for Major League Ultimate. Visit CanterburyUS.com today, the destination for your team's custom uniforms. Canterbury, committed to Ultimate. And the fans return after a t-shirt was won.
That was a big group of the team from Mexico that traveled up here for the weekend to play at Spring Rain. It's great to have kind of an international presence here in the Seattle area. And it's great to see the developing youth ultimate scene in Mexico, around Mexico City, really making its mark. I heard from a lot of teams that played them that they were not just great ultimate players, really good team, but really highly spirited. Really understood that notion of spirit of the game. Every team I spoke to that played them today wanted to play them again tomorrow.
Nice.
Can't make that happen, unfortunately.
The Mexican youth team here in Mount Vernon after a day playing at the local youth Spring Rain tournament. And just as Mexico sending a team up to play in their neighboring United States, so too These neighbors are playing each other. Seattle and Vancouver, neighbors along the I-5 corridor here in the Pacific Northwest. Rainmakers with the disc. Disc moves to Tridiak. Tridiak on the sideline. Handler scrambling, using the width of the field there. Good talk between McKibben and Masler. Masler a little bit further back, able to get that big swing pass. Moves it up to Dewey Valentine. Dewey Valentine pulls back the flick and strikes. But McKibben can't get there as Barber comes up big with the D for the Nighthawks. That throw, a little bit of a tough shot, an immediate shot from Dewey Valentine. Barber with a nice D to shut it down. And looks like Tin Lam gets the disc there. He stopped his cut and waited for the disc to come, giving the Rainmaker a little bit of a chance to get it. There he is again. Got to go hard after that disc. Tin Lam sends one too far out in front of Mogollon, and the Rainmakers will get another chance with 2 minutes remaining in the third period. Dewey Valentine checks the disc in, fakes that flick that time. Of course, he was the one to turn it over just a moment ago. There's a call on the field. The disc will go back to Clay Dewey Valentine. On that forehand side, launched one up to McKibben earlier this point, but it really went to Barber on the Nighthawks. Now McKibben, little shimmy shake, gets it from Dewey Valentine up the line. All the cutters are a little too deep right now for the Rainmakers, and they'll have to go through their handlers. Masler gets it. That flicks out in front, giving Tridiak a great look and a great chance at it. Nice throw from Jonathan Masler out in front of a streaking Danny Tridiak, who comes down with it. And then in the celebration jump with Masler gets knocked over. Well, strength from Masler as he's able to put the throw out in front, just hanging there long enough for Tridiak to come down with it. A nice throw, a nice run. And the Rainmakers, who had their offense a little stretched far downfield, were able to bring it back in to open up space for the deep cut there.
Big cheer from the crowd there, the other end of the stadium. I think that was Masler's Rainier Beach High School team cheering for him. I saw him acknowledge them and pump his fist and look at him. It was exciting for them to see their coach do that, I think, right here.
A lot of young players here in the crowd tonight following the Spring Rain Tournament. And your fans at home, you are blessed to have Jude Lorraine here with me, Dave Bestock, calling the game. Jude, you've been very active in the Seattle youth scene for a while now, right?
Yeah, I work with Dis Northwest as the youth director. I've been coaching in Seattle for about 20 years, but now I get to kind of help organize and give other people opportunities to coach and play. It's just a real blessing to see Ultimate grow here in Seattle.
Well, congrats on that, and thank you for the work that you do. Certainly, the youth scene in Seattle is very strong. Many of these Seattle Rainmakers players coming up through that scene. Many of the Nighthawks players coming through the youth scene in Vancouver. Support your local youth scene, folks. It is the future. Pressure from Seattle defenders. Wow. Thought he came up with that. A great attempt there by Lou, trying to dig one out of the artificial dirt. Sleva, that's Bailey, bidding huge. Bailey bidding huge as Greeley was trying to chase that one down. The backhand from Fan, a little too much mustard on it. Huge bid from Bailey trying to get there. And the Rainmakers back on D. Nighthawks attacking through Hunter on the sideline. Hunter up to Nadone. Big fake, big swing. Nighthawks players spread all over the place downfield. Now finding their flat stack. Wow, throw goes up. Too many defenders there. That's a crazy throw. What the heck just happened? That was awesome. Nighthawks coming down with it. It looks like Hunter, who from the ground flings one up to Nadon. That throw was ill-advised into a whole group of Rainmakers defenders. But Hunter with a huge grab and the infield greatest to Nadon.
I can't say I've ever seen that play. That's a choice. I wonder. Eric Hunter is actually coaching the Canadian U20 boys team this summer in Poland, and I wonder if that's a play he would ask his kids to make.
Well, sometimes you lead by example, and sometimes you just do what you feel. And there, Hunter feeling it, coming down with a huge grab in traffic, and then as he falls to the ground, flinging it into the end zone to Taylor Nadon. Haven't seen that one before. That's an exciting one, and we'll see if that can reinvigorate the team of the Vancouver Nighthawks with only 2 seconds remaining in this third period. The Rainmakers sending their receivers down into the end zone. Someone will be picking it up and launching it. That person is Tridiak, who gets double-teamed indeed as the clock winds down. Nice pressure there and defense from the Nighthawks. But there was contact called, and then, Tridiak thought there was contact called, rejected the call, saying, no, that was a clean block. So I'm not sure of the call, maybe overruled by the ref there. Who knows? Tridiak will have a chance at throwing it downfield. Isaac Entz, big man down there. Trey Miller, explosive receiver for the Rainmakers. Either one of those guys could come down with this last-ditch effort, and now they put 10 seconds on the clock. Tridiak still wanting to send it deep, but now finds Hauser up the middle. 5 seconds. Hauser sends an inside-out flick, giving anybody a chance. We saw Hunter come down out of the fray last time.
Oh.
This one swatted down by the Nighthawks. And that will close out the third quarter of play. An exciting finish to the third quarter there. The Nighthawks scoring a thrilling goal and putting some pressure on as the quarter winds down. Rainmakers 11, Nighthawks 7.
Yeah, there was a lot of excitement there coming into the quarter. A play that honestly left me speechless, and then a couple shots into a crowd. It's always exciting. I'm curious about what happened with the Tridiak call.
Yeah, he was able to, despite getting stuffed by the double team there, looking at the last-ditch shot. They made a call. Tridiak retained possession, took 10 yards, was able to throw it again into a group, and this time it was Deed coming down out of some good pressure D by the Nighthawks. And maybe you can hear the crowd getting excited here by the Rainmakers swag giveaway. Wanting to take home some of that sweet MLU gear. MLU also supported by Innova. Innova is proud to support Major League Ultimate and its incredible athletes as the official disc sponsor of the MLU and the official disc of the MLU. The Innova Pulsar has quickly become the disc of choice at Ultimate's highest level. Visit innovadiscs.com to find a dealer near you. And of course, the Innova Pulsar is the disc that these teams are playing with tonight. 4-point spread as we get ready for the fourth and final quarter of play.
We'll see, looks like a couple people limped out of that crowd and that throw to a group at the end of the quarter. I saw Trey Miller hopping around, limping off, took his shoe off. I saw a couple other players. Looks like there was probably a little more contact than anyone would like. We'll see if that has any effect on the rest of the game. But it's a pretty close game at this point.
Those throws into traffic, into a group, are always a little bit scary because there's so many players all gathered around and they're so focused on the disc. They're not worried necessarily about where they're going to land after they go up and try and get that disc. They're just hungry to go get it. And some contact there. Probably nothing these players aren't already a little bit used to, playing with the intensity that they do. And 4-point spread's not nothing. The Nighthawks certainly going to have to step it up here if they're hoping to get a win tonight. And the Rainmakers up 4. We saw them up 3 at halftime against Portland, up as many as 5 in the third quarter. And then the Portland Stags were able to put together a run late in the game last weekend to come back and win over the Seattle Rainmakers. The Rainmakers now with the lead. Hopefully they can figure out for themselves how to keep that lead and maybe expand on it instead of fizzling late in the game. Not that they fizzled so much as Portland played very strong. Portland, strong team here in the Northwest Division.
But I'm sure the Nighthawks took note of that. I'm sure they believe that anything can happen in this last quarter. Guarantee they talked about that in their huddle just now and are going to come with the heat.
Certainly it is possible. 4 points is certainly achievable, but it'll mean some breaks. The Nighthawks will have to pressure the Rainmakers into turning it over and then score it once they have it again. And they'll hope to start that right now as they will be pulling to start off the fourth quarter. Brought to you by Skippy. Skippy, the official peanut butter of the Seattle Rainmakers, made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy Yippee. Pull goes up. Jonathan Masler, Rainmakers, initiates to McKibben. Good pressure there. And the Nighthawks, pressure there as well. Tridiak gets a look downfield. No cutters open enough to launch one. Gussin gets it underneath. Finds Sleva underneath. Sleva's Believas, hoping he'll do something exciting with it. Finds Hauser downfield. Hauser toes the line to stay in bounds. Moves it down to McKibben. McKibben all the way across to the quick Clay Dewey Valentine, who strikes with a backhand into the corner. Steve Gussin slides. Gets it. The ref calls it in. The sliding Steve Gussin for the goal. And the Rainmakers the first to strike here in the fourth quarter, expanding their lead 12-7.
Gussin's a tall player who I know likes to catch the disc up above everyone rather than down below everyone, but he's willing to sacrifice a body and a few skin cells to dig that throw out.
Dewey Valentine getting a big swing across the field, and before the mark could totally set up, continues to throw around to the break side, finding an open Steve Gussin, who slides in. Safe is the disc in his hands and the end zone. And now the Rainmakers will look to see if they can get a break here in the fourth, which would really put a ton of pressure on the Nighthawks here.
Steve Gussin's a teacher in Seattle, and I just heard the Mr. Gussin cheer from a group of his players lining the fence along here. So he's got some fans in the house.
Gussin, of course, used to coach the Rainmakers, now donning his cleats on the field once more as a player. Good pressure by Jesperson, who we saw leave the game with an injury earlier. It's nice to see he's back up and running, putting pressure on the Nighthawks offense as they find some openings downfield. Wow, ooh, that is a narrow window against a terrific athlete, but they're able to sneak it up to Hunter. Hunter centers it to Lamb. Lamb back up the middle. Barber gets a good look at the end zone. Cutters leaving the scene, and this looks like some contact. And Barber will take it right on the goal line, getting bumped by Jesperson. Jesperson, big guy, rubbing shoulders with Barber. Not small either. Contact call. We'll get another 10 seconds. Try and send it in the end zone here. Diving mark. Timeout called. Timeout was called by the Nighthawks, either right before they scored or they not exactly sure what happened. I think maybe someone was worried that they weren't going to be able to punch it in there, called the timeout, and the Nighthawks will get a while to think about what they want to do on the end zone line here, and the Rainmakers will see if they want to run a little stunt defense here.
It is nice to see the Nighthawks using that end zone space a little bit more wisely, not jamming everybody into one hole, creating some space. Didn't work out for them exactly, but I think that's going to lead to some success in the future for them for sure.
It's an improvement. The last time we saw them really coming down and working in that end zone, they had all five of the 6 cutters in one corner. That time they only had 2, so it's an improvement. You're ideally trying to find one, isolating against the defender on a side of the end zone to get open for a goal. The Nighthawks struggling a little bit with their spacing, but looking to find their groove here. It's still early in the season, but time is ticking away here in this game. 8:39 remaining in the game. 5-point spread. The Seattle Rainmakers lead their Northwest rival, the Vancouver Nighthawks.
A lot of youth on this Nighthawks team. Players that are still playing at college at UBC and UVic. And players that they're still learning the game at this level. Lots of athleticism, lots of vision for the game. Clearly some great throwers, but they're still figuring out the how to fine-tune themselves into professional ultimate players. I saw Ted Chu, a young player on their team, make some good decision-making there and get out of the way, create some space for the cutters. So they're clearly picking it up, but that wisdom will take some time to set in.
Sometimes the best thing you can do as a cutter is clear space for your teammates. Setting your teammates up for success. Sign of a true cutter is understanding the spacing downfield. Double team, big boys on the mark. Step around backhand, towing the line. Well played there, acknowledging the double team. Finding the opening was Barber. And a quick goal after the timeout for the Nighthawks. Nighthawks bring it within 4, up to 8, to the Rainmakers 12. Nice quick goal. They'll need a few of those if they're going to have a chance to bring this in and try to take the lead.
Yeah, they're going to have to really bring the intensity up on defense here. They're running out of time if they want to claw back into this one.
They'll be sharpening their talons, trying to claw in. The Rainmakers, of course, hoping to keep pouring it on here. 12-8. They're leading against what's called a hometown crowd here up in Mount Vernon. Of course, the proximity here in Mount Vernon to the youth tournament, Spring Rain, which we're talking a lot about because co-announcer here, Jude, was instrumental in making that happen and works with the young folks of Seattle on their youth ultimate scene. Many of those young people out here in the stands today because of the proximity here to that tournament. And fans from both Vancouver, Seattle, and, as you said, Mexico and elsewhere. 3 cutters move downfield, clearing space for Ostergaard. Dewey Valentine, however, finds McKibben. McKibben sends one out in front of Ostergaard, who has a ton of space, and a nice throw from McKibben. Lots of time for Peter Ostergaard, a.k.a. Tito, to run onto it and score. That was nice, clean offense from the Rainmakers. A couple of nice shots, coordinated cutting, leaving space for Ostergaard to get a nice backhand shot from McKibben for the goal.
I think that's a throw that McKibben will take any chance he gets. Having a cutter with space and steps and a big end zone in front of him, that's a throw McKibben loves to put up.
Nice offense there by the Rainmakers. They sent 3 cutters all in a row in their horizontal stack. Downfield, Peter Ostergaard turned the corner, came across the middle. Dewey Valentine did not elect to throw to him. Instead, found McKibben. Ostergaard coming across the middle, takes off deep, gets steps, and gets the disc for the goal. And the Rainmakers send a pull down into the end zone of the Nighthawks. Yee with the disc. Yee swings it over to Chan. Chan upfield.
Phil
Davidson. Davidson up to Hunter. Another opening downfield up the line to Barbieri, who sends one out in front. Did not see. Looks like Klein, who was cheating off the back and is the first to get to that disc. Initiates it up to Bailey. Bailey launches one up. It could be anybody's ball. I see Hunter under it.
Oh.
Great attempt there from Bender, who I believe was the intended receiver. Bender getting up, almost getting there, but two Nighthawks defenders get there first. One of them remains down after the play. And we've seen this a few times. Some throws going up, getting too much air under them, giving multiple sets of O&D the chance to get under it and make a play on it. And there you saw the offensive player, Peter Bender, who was the intended receiver, had steps going deep, trying to bring it out of the air. Cam Bailey wound up and threw a huge backhand that went up and took a little while to come down. And several players went up after it. One of the Nighthawks players remains down. You don't like to see that.
I think that's Eric Hunter again.
Hunter getting in the mix in a lot of plays today. Big long frame. Disc goes through him a lot as well. And he's getting up now, jumping up. So these players making extra sure that they've got their wits about them before they get up and play continues, and Hunter will walk off with the trainer back to the sideline, holding his neck maybe. Hopefully he didn't get too banged up there. Good defense by the Nighthawks. Caused the turnover. There was no call other than making sure that Hunter was okay. And the Nighthawks will face the better part of the field in an effort to try and cut the Rainmakers' lead down again. There's a swing, loss of a yard. And again, back into the middle. Good pressure downfield. Klein shuts his man down and then continues towards the thrower. Again, unseen is Evan Klein, who sneaks in, gets the D, sends one in to a leaping Cam Bailey for the goal. Heads up defensive play by Klein.
Klein's long limbs lets him take up a lot of space, create some havoc there in the throwing lane, and capitalize.
Klein doing a great job of shutting down the in cut, guarding a man downfield. That cut expired, and the cutter took his time to turn around and head back downfield. During that time, Klein making his presence known sneakily to the thrower as he steps in and takes away the short pass and delivers it to Bailey for the goal. Klein getting a D on the other end as well when they hucked it to someone and didn't see Klein cheating off the back. Klein not restricted to his own man, able to see the field, and that can be so devastating for an offense when there's athletic defenders who can shut someone down one-on-one, but who are also heads up enough to recognize the opportunities to turn the advantage their way. Good pressure here. The handler defenders putting up a throw that Fan almost has a chance at. And the Nighthawks now into their offense following some great initial pressure by the Rainmakers. Just moving well. Magellan just to the line. Nighthawks on the end zone line. Good double team from the Rainmakers, but it leaves Barber wide open, and they find him for the goal. Good patient offense, not flustered by some energetic defensive play from the Rainmakers. The Nighthawks able to hang on and punch it in. A nice short pass there through a double team.
It was nice to see the Nighthawks not have somebody hanging out deep there. They've had some cutters hanging out a little too deep, I feel. It allows those defensive players like Klein to shut down those deep shots and kind of cheat into lanes. This time, everyone stayed a little closer to the disc, created a deep threat, which really required defenders to stay tight.
Stretching that field so important. And the Nighthawks probably the ones to call this timeout so that they can pull from half field and try and put the pressure on the home team, Seattle Rainmakers.
It's good to see Eric Hunter He's walked away from the trainer's bench and is pacing the sidelines. He took a pretty good hit down there and walked away, and after a little consultation with the trainer, he's back up and part of the team. We mentioned Henry Pham now, a coach who's now playing with some of his players that he coached. Henry Pham, a coach for Trey Miller. Eric Hunter actually coaches several players, or has coached several players that are now playing with him on the Nighthawks. Aiden and Ty and Josh Lamb, all coached by him in their secondary school experience, and now they get to play with their coach.
And it's so important to have those leaders, those figures in the community who young players can look up to and model themselves after as players. And it really puts the onus on those players to also be responsible citizens and good people, because they are certainly role models for the young folks. A lot of youth here at the game showing their love for their favorite players on both the Seattle Rainmakers and the Vancouver Nighthawks here as they get closer to the end of this game. 6:52 in the fourth. 14-9 Rainmakers as the Nighthawks will pull to them. Looking to get a break, looking for some momentum here, giving them a chance for a W. Both of these teams coming off losses last week. Last week's loss, Vancouver to Portland, was significant. They got blasted by Portland. Both teams really looking for their rhythm so far this season. Vancouver among those struggling the most throughout the league. Seattle, some good, some bad, looking to pull out a win here tonight. There's the Blady backhand we generally expect. And Masler again catching a very Blady pull. And it's sort of a zone on the handlers, at least. It is a zone. Wow. Oh, great bid. Good pressure there. Chan almost getting the swing. And Chan hustling. Big throw goes up deep. Wow.
Whoa.
Great D as Davidson was able to get his hand in there and disrupt that one. And now the Nighthawks, through some contact from McKibben, Lou will send one. Trading hucks here. And this time, Dewey Valentine able to get there. Oh, wow. A lot of energy out on the field now. Some fast decision-making leading to some turnovers here. And the Nighthawks will get another chance at it. This would be a break for them, and again, a momentum shifter. And they send two cutters into the same lane, probably having to run through another swing pass here. They sort it out, get an upfield pass. That's LaRosse with it. Rainmakers overplaying the dump, allowing the up line shot. That hasn't been great for them this point, as there's been a couple of yardage gaining dump cuts, that last one included, as they sneak it in for a break. Do the Nighthawks 14-10, and they're in spitting distance, and we'll try for another break here.
That was Ted Chu with the score. Ted, don't call me Theodore Chu. His actual name is Ted, not Theodore. It's not a short. And he's a player actually who has some experience playing at Spring Rain. When he was at Point Grey Secondary School, he traveled down to Spring Rain a few times. And he's really committed to developing the youth scene in the Vancouver area. I'm sure he's got some fans in the stand here.
Some stand fans. Both teams do. A lot of fans out here in Mount Vernon High School Stadium cheering on here as we move from evening to night. And the lights are lighting up the action out here, showcasing both teams' jerseys, of course, provided by Canterbury. Canterbury, the official apparel supplier to Major League Ultimate. Dress like a pro. Visit CanterburyUS.com, the destination for all your team's custom uniforms and athletic apparel needs. Canterbury, proud partner of Major League Ultimate and committed to the game. 5:30 remaining in the fourth quarter. Coming up on the end of this game, a low-scoring game, 14-10, Seattle Rainmakers lead. Still a chance with this much time left for a Nighthawks comeback, but a lot of things are going to have to go their way if that's going to happen.
The wind has picked up a little bit. Looks like maybe it's raining a little bit. I've seen some umbrellas pop up here in the crowd. It's an upwind, downwind game, so it's wind coming from right to left as you're viewing the field. See if that changes some of the defense that the Nighthawks want to play right now.
Well, they'll be pulling downwind, I believe.
Just heard my daughter's voice over the over the loudspeaker here.
They're inviting some kids to tell jokes here over the microphone, keeping the fans engaged for sure. And the Nighthawks set to pull, a short pull. Because they took a timeout after scoring, they'll get to pull from half field. Seen a lot of Blady backhands. We might see a Blady flick. Jonathan Masler has caught a lot of these Blady backhand pulls. This time, Dewey Valentine chasing it down and elects not to try and catch that. Good choice. He was turned around and turned around again. That would have been a really tough catch to make. A nice pull, assuming that landed in bounds there. It did not. So the Rainmakers will take it. At the brick mark, the pull landed out. When you take that short pull, you want to land it in and have it roll out the back so the disc is taken at the back of the end zone. There, pulled it too far. As you said, McKibben will take any chance for a nice backhand huck. There's Hauser with steps. Hot route Hauser getting the delivery from Gavin McKibben. And the Rainmakers with a quick strike up the backhand line. And a timeout is called. And now the Rainmakers will look to utilize the half-field pull. Certainly a strategy move for both teams calling these timeouts. A little bit of a struggle for the fans to stay engaged when there's timeouts being called after every point.
Definitely puts the heat on the hype man down here. He's resorting to the crowd to tell jokes in these timeout sessions, but whatever it takes.
It's crowdsourcing. It's not crowdfunding. It's crowdfunning.
Oh, good one.
And Takahashi's doing that here, keeping the fans engaged with jokes and the like.
See what the Rainmakers plan on doing. Downwind pull. I'm sure they're going to try to keep it in the end zone. Maybe get an early break. An early turn and turn it into an easy break. With the Nighthawks trying to go upwind now into the rain, I think that they're counting on some early pressure, forcing a turnover.
And the wind is indeed picking up here. See some jerseys blowing in the wind and the flag on the flagpole catching some air there. 5:20 remaining in the fourth period of play. 15-10, Rainmakers lead by 5. As they don their .6 socks, the official sock sponsor of Major League Ultimate. Check out .6.com for their full line of performance merino wool socks. As the wind and rain pick up, you'll want some warm socks to close out the game here. Seattle will pull from half field. Pressure is on the Nighthawks, who trail 5 with just over 5 minutes remaining. They're going to need a couple back-to-back here. It's always hard as an O team. You can only score one at a time. The pressure's on. You got to score quickly so that your D team can get back out there. But you certainly don't want to rush it too much because you do have to score. If they give away breaks here, that's nails in the coffin for Vancouver.
I'm looking to see Phil Davidson go deep. He's been itching to stretch it deep a little bit. See if that bears out.
Pull stopped. Almost picked up by both of the attacking Nighthawks players. A little high backhand, good pressure by the Rainmakers D. And they're having to dump it into their own end zone. And on a swing pass, there's contact. The pass is incomplete, but it looks like contact was called on, looks like Eddie Feely, who will step back out to the mark. Big swing, might be over his head, is over his head, sails out of the sideline, and the problems that have plagued Vancouver all game have not left here in the fourth. Overthrowing out to the side of their intended receivers has been killing them tonight. Feely, swing over to Bailey, and Klein does a great job of changing direction, and they get in the Klein canoe. They're off. A little team spike there. Love to see that. They're bringing the fun too.
See reenactments here in the crowd. That was a crowd pleaser for sure.
Speaking of fun, Skippy is the official peanut butter of the Seattle Rainmakers, and it's made with the funnest peanuts ever. Skippy, yippee. The Rainmakers lead 16-10. Under 4:30 remaining in the game, and another timeout. And it might be out of place here, but I'm going to suggest that each team be allotted less timeouts. We've seen this in the last couple games. It's certainly a strategy point to call the timeout and pull from half field, and we've seen a lot of teams utilizing that to their benefit and to increase need for patience from the crowd.
Yeah, you know, if you give the coaches those timeouts, they're going to use them.
Certainly. It's a good
Can't
strategy.
fault them.
Good strategy point there. Maybe even shortening up the timeouts. I don't know. They don't ask me about that sort of thing. But I'm going to tell them anyway. 16-10. Rainmakers lead by 6. 4:24 remaining in the fourth. Vancouver Nighthawks are going to need to put something together here to have a chance at this game.
Haven't seen much of a few players here in the second half from the Rainmakers. I don't remember seeing Isaac Ensign a whole lot. We haven't seen a whole lot of Trey Miller either. Some of their big receivers. Granted, they've been playing a lot of D, but
both teams playing into their roster. You don't see the same guys every time, but certainly some getting a lot more playing time than others. Generally, teams will have a little bit of a tighter rotation on offense. You really want your offensive team to gel with each other, to know what the other player is going to do, because possession is so important in Ultimate. It's really important for the offensive team to maintain possession. And here, the Rainmakers will look to put pressure on that possession by the Nighthawks. The Nighthawks are going to need to score, and score relatively quickly, in order to come back into this game. That pull kind of generous from half field, right to the guy. Klein is cheating deep again. Let's see if they see him this time. Wow. Nice bid there by Jesperson. Good job by Vancouver, and that one's going to be too far out in front again. Found the opening, had the shot. It's the right look, but an execution error as Cheng runs all the way into the end zone. Big long stride. I'm sorry. That is not Cheng. Looks like it might be Chu. But the throw goes too far out in front. Can't get there. Now Klein coming back in. Long arms of Klein reeling it in the middle. Finding Jesperson. Jesperson getting contact on his throw by McGullen, but the throw makes it through. Fan now through Sheridan to Klein. Feely gets open. Feely gets a lot of touches for the Rainmakers. Good decision maker. Nice throw there. And Sheridan finds Klein for the score for the Rainmakers. 17-10 with 3:14 remaining. That may be all she wrote for the Nighthawks here. The Nighthawks. The Rainmakers continuing to pour it on here in the fourth quarter.
Klein is just a tireless cutter.
Great on defensive end. We've seen Klein sneaking into a couple of plays, not even his man necessarily, but really good heads up and athletic defense. And then on the flip side, able to drive a lot of the offensive momentum as a cutter for the Rainmakers. They were scrambling a little bit there, but did a good job of running it through their handlers as their cutters found their spacing. And the Rainmakers in good spirits here. They were up 5 and gave it away last game. This game, I'm not sure they could even do that if they tried at this point. 7-point spread, just over 3 minutes to go. I'd say it is possible, but unlikely. Nighthawks also continue to overthrow their cutters, leading to turnovers. And that has been what's plagued them this evening. Unforced errors, finding the right shots, finding some openings, but just leaving their cutters out to dry a little bit. Now they're able to move it in through the middle. Good pressure by the Rainmakers. They're not going to give it up so easily this time. Nice high backhand there across field. Little inside-out shot stuffed by Chris Rupp. The intended receiver was Barber. Rupp gets his hand in there and interrupts that throw. And this one goes up to Trey Miller. Trey Miller off the sideline. Not even Trey can get there. Had his hand up and on the disc, but sailing away with a little blade. Very athletic receiver, not able to hang on there, and the Nighthawks will get another chance as the clock keeps ticking. 2:15 left in the game. 7-point spread. And diving for dump swing passes here is not going to allow the Nighthawks to strike back quickly. But they do find an opening here. Really spread offense. Some of their cutters on the far side of the field, allowing cutters. Wow, nice D by Feely there. But Barber hangs on, sends one upfield, and Bender gets in there. But the ref calls foul and gets boos from the crowd, who really wanted Bender to come away with that D, I guess.
Looked like a run-through D to me, but...
Chan will initiate the offense for the Nighthawks. Great pressure from the D. Bender gets his hand on that throw, gets the hand block, and a diving Lamb can't save it. Rainmakers disc. Neely sends a shot into Bender. I'm sorry, that's Feely. Feely. No, that was Bender.
Yep. Bender getting his name called a lot that point.
Yeah, Bender showing up on the D, getting called for a foul, getting the hand block when he gets it again, and then double happiness getting the block, and then the goal. And he drives it over to the end zone for the layup. Spike.
If I've been paying attention, I think that's Neely's 4th assist tonight.
Neely delivering there, a nice sharp flick to Bender. And the lead extends. 18-10, Seattle Rainmakers. 1:17 left in the game, and it is raining just a little bit. And leaves the Nighthawks' feathers a little ruffled here tonight as their tough season continues. The Nighthawks struggling so far this year. And the Rainmakers relentless, sending a short pull, but sending racing Jesperson there, hungry for that block. Not going to give it away easily. Groden Gilchrist, first name Jazz. Dumps a big one down to McGullen. Nice grab by Chu. They're really working hard for it. Jesperson, season opening, dives in and gets the block. Nice D. Luke Jesperson working hard on D and coming up with the block. Henry Fan left wide open. They're in trouble, are the Nighthawks, leaving some open guys here. Rainmakers can just let the clock tick, and they're finding open handlers. Fan, little inside out to Klein. Klein's been all over both ends of the disc tonight, helping the Rainmakers on D and on offense. Now the Stacks little spread. Bailey brings down a high one and then rockets one into Klein. He would have been the only one to see that window, but finds the connection to Klein. Cam Bailey, laser. 15 seconds remain in the game, and the Rainmakers up to 19. U.S. Coachways. Do you have a team trip or corporate outing coming up? If so, charter a private bus, minibus, or party bus from busrental.com, a U.S. Coachways company. Bus travel is one of the safest, greenest, and most affordable ways to get your group to an event. If you're going with a group, trust busrental.com. Enter coupon code MLU_BUS and get additional savings and VIP treatment. And there's busloads of kids here. A lot of youth fans tonight, as well as some adult fans cheering their team on. The Rainmakers up 19-10, looking to close it out here. Could be the final pull with only 14 seconds remaining. The Nighthawks hoping to get one last score in here before the game ends, and bobbling that first pass. Maybe the focus is already lost. Has 5 seconds on the clock. A big Blady swing. Going to have to send up something if you want it, and that's not going to do it. As the horn ends the game here, and the Seattle Rainmakers take the game 19-10 here in Mount Vernon, beating the Vancouver Nighthawks. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time here at the MLU.